a question. I'm your host, certified high performance coach Sean Butner, and today we got two questions from the community that I'm really excited to talk about. Today, usually on Fridays at 10, we do this show where we take questions from comments and direct messages, or if you go to seanbutner.com/ask, you can submit questions there to really focus on what you need to help move forward. So I'm really trying to build a community here where we can all learn, grow, and move forward together and engage. So it's a little bit less of me talking about high performance and personal development in an abstract way, but in a way that can really help you advance your life. And because if you have a question, I'm sure somebody else does too. So you're actually helping lead the community too when you ask your questions. So I appreciate it. So the questions we have today. Question number one is, when I journal, what should I focus on? Should I focus on just my thoughts? Should I focus on appointments? Should I focus on goals? I will say, as a journal addict, I have about a journal for every different type of thing. But when it comes to personal development and moving my life forward, this question was asked by Christopher, so shout out to Christopher. For me, it really depends on what you're going for. I like to have a journal for different skills that I'm trying to develop. So I have like a marketing journal. I have a just general personal development journal. I have a journal where I can keep my thoughts and track my progress. So it's more of a reflection and keeping track of how I'm moving forward in my own energy, in my clarity, in my productivity and influence and all that stuff, courage and all that stuff that we talk about in high performance. So really, I feel like if you have a daily journal, right? Tim Ferriss has something called morning pages, which is really good if you're trying to get some ideas on where to start. But if at the very basic, you had a journal you did every day in the morning or at night where you reflected on, hey, what am I proud of today? Or what am I looking forward to today? Or what did I learn today? Or I'm trying to reach this goal. This is how I made progress on it. Like those simple questions that could take you literally 5 minutes can really, when done consistently, have a huge impact in your life. And for me, probably the biggest time when I was using this reflective type journal on what am I excited about, what's my goal, how am I tracking towards it, was when I was going to leave my job at Walmart years ago. In 2012, I finally made the jump to start a business, kind of like what I did recently, or probably about a year and a half ago now, in this coaching thing. But I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to serve in a greater way. And I decided I was young and have really a lot of roots anywhere. I could make that jump and see what happened. And it worked out really, really well. But what that looked like is every day I would journal on my thoughts and kind of how I was feeling about my life at that time. But really, I focused on, I wanted a life where I felt more alive, where I felt a little bit more myself. I was at a point in my career in the corporate world where I didn't really, really trying to figure out my identity as just a human being outside of work. And it was taking up so much time and stress and brain power. I realized there was a better quality of life and I needed to change. And so that journaling process of figuring out that that's what I really wanted, like it started for me just feeling discontent and like, oh, why am I that, and you do that for a couple of months, you're like, oh, I want something more and bigger and better for my life. So that's how I've used the kind of like daily reflective journaling on what's going on in my head, what do I want, and as you discover goals, how am I measuring up to those? So, oh, I want this life. What could I be doing? Right? I could try to find another job. I could try to find another job in the organization. I could try to start my own business. I could try to just quit everything, travel the world like King from Kung Fu, um, any of that kind of stuff. But so you can kind of start to generate ideas on how to advance. That's the journals I do for the daily reflecting. For like the skill building, it's usually ideas, notes that I've translated, from an online course on how to get really better at like email marketing, how to get better at doing these types of videos. Um, So, communication is another word for marketing. And I think the people that are really good at that stuff are just really good communicators and aren't pushy. Just personal belief on that. So, what kind of journals do you have? Or what kind of journals do you need to get to that next level would be the question I'd ask you, Christopher. And I think in the comments you also mentioned that you're reading books. Like, are you reflecting on how many books you've read each week, each month? And do you have a goal for yourself on how many books to read this year? And are you tracking that? Is something maybe personally to put in just based on the engagement I've seen on my page, which is awesome. So, okay, cool beans. So that's kind of how I think through journaling. If you have any other questions, let me know. I can address them a little bit more specific. Happy to do that. Second question I got recently was, how can I keep strong, keep resilient, keep moving forward after a terrible loss? So I was working with someone and they just recently had lost their job. Their whole identity was in the job. And it was really just crushing to have that, job lost due to COVID, And I think a lot of us understand how impactful that is. And at some point in your life, you've had an unexpected, terrible thing happen. And so when it's happened in my life or when I'm talking about it with a client, it's really, how can you honor that feeling and have permission to feel that fully? Sometimes I feel like we're taught in our culture to kind of guard down and everything's okay, feeling pretty good. If you ever watched the show Patriot on Amazon Prime, you should. And there's, without going into the story, it's a very sad person who hates his job, whose response is always like, he's so sad. He's just like, how are you doing? Like, pretty good. That kind of sentiment. And yeah, so in my life, when I've had people pass away unexpectedly, or I've had career things happen where I wasn't really super happy, big restructuring and everything's changed, and it can be a little bit crushing. First word problems with the restructuring, but losing a job, losing someone you love, these types of serious things. Like, so permission to feel, to grieve, to honor that part of your humanity, I think is very important. And it's also, the trick becomes, how do you not get so caught up in it that consumes your life, right? It's that emotional management of, I feel really sad. And as they say, the show must go on. So how do I move forward from this? And to start really engaging in, what are your next steps? What do I see in my future for myself, in my career, in this particular case, where I can shift, or I can find something that's a little bit more my speed, or an organization that fits in more with my values, or just something completely crazy that you hadn't even thought of could pop up, because when the door closes, another one opens, as the tried adage goes. So yeah, feel. It's okay to feel it. It's the trick. Again, the trick is, don't get caught up in it so much where you can't look for another job. You can't generate your own ideas to see, maybe this is an opportunity for you to really live life, in a different way that you hadn't thought of. So future, permission to feel, and just engage in community, talk with people, go for walks, right? Those are free in this particular case, where it's not a financial component, but connect with people regularly, like, and find your joy, right? So connect with people. The last thing I'd say is, part of when you feel burnout, part of when you've been striving for so hard, or you're really focused on, getting a new job again, finding that next job, and the job hunt's not going so well, it's really an emotional management game. So what are you doing every day to bring yourself a little bit of joy? Because you might not be able to control that. You might not be able to control a lot of things in life, but you can control how you react, and you can control how you're generating your own joy, if that makes any type of sense. So, like for me, I'm a musician. I talk about this every so often, and it's playing music every day makes me feel happy. So I make sure that I play music every day. And it doesn't matter if my business is going strong. It doesn't matter if my business is looking really bad. It doesn't matter if, years ago I lost my mom and music was one thing I could do every day to kind of get lost and not feel that, and it was something that was important to her so I could connect with her playing some of her favorite Beatles songs, and so there's that, we can always do those things that center us, that give us that sense, that spark of joy in uncertain and terrible times. So that said, guys, hope you enjoy the show. We're here every Friday at 10 o'clock. Please direct message me, comment below what you loved, what you didn't love. Do the social media thing and share this with 3 friends if you would. Get the word out. That'd be awesome. And if you have your question, again, direct message me. Comment below this video, or you can always go to SeanButler.com/ask to submit your question to Ask a Coach, okay? Great. Have a good weekend. Go out there, live with more joy, more personal growth, and more impact in your communities, and I'll see you next week.